Fear is a great motivator, but if you use it as your primary source of making decisions, you will not make decisions rationally.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. I want to speak to you about a quote that you've probably heard from me before, and just take an opportunity and explain it just a little bit more in depth. The quote is this: fear is a great motivator, but fear is a horrible problem solver. I want to talk to you about three great companies that will be wonderful problem solvers for you. That is Alamode. Alamode, of course, is the software that I've been using for over 20 years to do my appraisal reports. You should be as well. You can check them out by going to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. That's ALMODE. We are sponsored by Datamaster. Datamaster, of course, is the ability to save 30 to 60 minutes. We'll just call it an even 45 minutes per report. Do the math on that, folks. How many reports are you doing per day, per week, per month? Add that up, times it by 45 minutes, and then divide it by 60 to get the number of hours that you will save utilizing Datamaster. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. Finally, we are sponsored by a great company called Working RE Magazine. Working RE is your ability to stay informed about what's going on in the appraisal world. Just go to your computer and type in www.workingre.com. Again, it's working, RE as in real estate.com. All right, folks, we will have other COVID-19s. We will have other pandemics. We will have other economic issues. We will have other ups and downs in the real estate market and ups and downs in your business. I want to talk to you today about fear, F-E-A-R. I am not one that is going to ignore reality. I am not going to be a Pollyanna. I am not going to constantly just be looking on the bright side at the detriment of reality. I am definitely an optimist in my life. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I can't help it. Try as I might, I cannot be a pessimist. And I try, but I just can't do it. But I'm also a realist. I'm the type of individual that is not going to ignore the facts in front of my face. And sometimes that will drive me to do certain things. And part of that driving, and it's okay, is fear. Sometimes I go to bed at night and all of a sudden something hits me and I start thinking about it and fretting about it and worrying about it. And sometimes I can't sleep. There have been times that I have been up half the night because I was worried about where payroll would come from. Here I am responsible for X number of employees or contractors, and I have no idea how I'm going to pay my bills. I've been there. You've been there. It's a scary thing. There's so many things that we can see around us that could cause us fear and trepidation. Let me be on record as saying I don't think fear is a bad thing. I think it's ingrained in us. I think it's evolution. I think that this idea that caveman is walking through the tall grass in the jungle and hears a sound and a twig snap and feels this fear going through them is not a bad thing. That's kept us alive for years and years and years and years. It's not a bad thing. Where it becomes bad is when we start to utilize that information in order to make important decisions. What do I mean by that? Folks, fear is a great motivator. It really is. Fear of something can allow us to think straight. You know, there's scientific studies out there, and you can find these on the internet, of what happens in the flight or fight mode, right? You've heard about this for years, and sometimes they add freeze to that. So fight, flight, or freeze. When that twig snaps in the grass, some run, some get ready to fight, and some freeze, don't know what to do. Right? But what kicks in this adrenaline and this dopamine rush and all of the things that happen to our body, it's absolutely amazing and fascinating to me physiologically what happens to the body during that process. People that have been through tragic things and think back to the last tragic thing that you went through. Okay, what comes to mind, in my mind, I was working two jobs. This was long before I was the appraiser coach, long before I figured things out. And I was working two jobs. I was working as a school teacher. And I was getting off at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I would rush around and do some inspections before it got dark. And then I would come home and I would type up reports till wee hours in the morning. By the way, that is not a lifestyle I would recommend to anybody. But that's the world I lived in. And I remember one day, it was a spring day, and the roads were dry and they were clear, and I was maybe going a little too fast, and I was on the phone with the county, and I was getting information from the county, and I was driving to my appointment. And I was driving way too fast, and I was on the phone, and I was balancing everything out, and the next thing you know, I'm sideways in the car. I'm driving, I hit ice, it turned sideways. The next thing I know, I'm spinning around. Those that saw the wreck said I turned 5-6 times. And it's in those situations that you find yourself slowing down. It's those situations that you start to go kind of in slow motion. Some people say your life flashes before your eyes. I certainly didn't have that experience, but I remember everything crystal clear. Even to this day, and this was 10, 12 years ago, I remember very clear what happened and when the windshield broke and the snow came in and realizing that my seatbelt was on and the airbag going off. All of these things happened so quickly, yet they just seemed to slow down. And that's what this fight, flight, or freeze thing will do. It really slows down whatever it is, your brain, your reaction, everything slows down and kind of goes in slow motion. That is a good thing because it allows you to be able to make decisions in the spur of the moment that you would not be able to make otherwise. So this idea that fear is a great motivator, that's the first part. When we get back from the break, I want to share with you the second part. And the second part is that fear should never be your problem solver. And we are sponsored, of course, by a la Mode software. A la Mode, of course, instilling no fear in appraisers, rather helping to solve their problems, helping them to do more with less, helping them to invest in themselves and their business because of the tools and the abilities that they give appraisers to do more. Folks, if you're not using a la Mode, you need to check them out. Go to alamode.com, or you can pick up the phone and call them. Talk to a real live person at 800 a la Mode. We're sponsored, of course, by Working RE magazine. Working RE is the place that I go to find out what is going on in my appraisal profession, my chosen career. These folks get it. They interview the big stars. They interview the individuals that really know what's going on in our profession, and I love being on the front lines with their free blog that comes out a couple times a week. Check it out. Go to workingre.com and sign up for their free blog today. Finally, we're sponsored by DataMaster. DataMaster is saving appraisers 45 minutes, not per day, not per week, not per month, per report. Now, for some of you, that might be per day. For others, that might be times 3 or 4 per day. Whatever your volume, I want you to times that by 45 and divide by 60 and find out how many hours of time DataMaster can save you today. Check it out. Go to datamasterusa.com. One more time, it's datamasterusa.com. All right, folks, welcome back. Quite a windstorm blowing outside. I don't know if you can hear that through the window or not, but it's really blowing outside. I've got a guy up on the roof doing internet installation at the very moment. So speaking of fear, I would not want to be that guy, but there he is. And kudos to him. Great customer service today. Our internet's been very slow, and he came out, and despite the wind, he's up there trying to fix things for me. So hats off to him. We're talking today about fear and how fear should be a great motivator, but should not be a problem solver. What is the difference? Folks, motivation is good. Speaking of motivation, you're going to have all kinds of things in your life that it's going to motivate you to do other things. Some things are in your control, some things are not in your control. What I have found, and I think this is a true principle, that about 98% of the world kind of just gets along, kind of just does whatever needs to be done, but they're not proactive. We'll put it this way. They're not proactive about their lives. They don't plan their lives. They don't envision their lives. They don't take steps to make life happen for them. They simply allow life to happen to them. Yet there's those 2%, the 2% out there who make it happen, the 2% who are more concerned about where they are in the future and what life looks like for them. Now, lots of motivating things. You might have health challenges, financial challenges, unexpected emergencies. Things might just happen, and those things can be motivators. Fear can be one of those. Fear of the unknown. Something might happen. It'll trigger in your brain, oh no, what does this mean? Okay, interest rates might rise, for example, and your fear might immediately say, oh my gosh, what's next, right? Am I going to see a drop in business? And that fear may motivate you, but please, please, please don't allow it to become your decision-making tool. What is the difference? Let me give you a true life example. I used to be, as you all know, I used to teach school. I taught middle school. And I also appraised at the same time. The story that I told you earlier about rolling my truck was during that time. I was teaching school and I was getting off late, and then I was rushing the sun to get inspections done, and then coming home and really not seeing a whole lot of my family. Typically during that time, I would spend 1 to 2 hours in the evening with them, having dinner, enjoying each other's company. I'd put the little kids to bed, and then I was back at it again till wee hours in the morning. By the way, again, if you didn't hear me before, hear me now. I don't recommend you do that. Okay, but that's what I was doing. And it was a challenge. It was difficult. And finally, it came to the point that my wife and I needed to make a decision because it was just too much. I was working way too many hours for way too little pay. And we finally made the decision as a couple that I would quit teaching. And that was sad for me because I enjoyed teaching and go full time into the appraisal world to own my own business. Now, up to that point, I had been running my own business for years, but it was in conjunction with a full-time, quote unquote, steady paycheck every 2 weeks with benefits and all the rest. So it was a leap of faith for us to do that. I remember making the decision on a Saturday afternoon. I remember Monday morning, the announcement on our local newspaper, and back then I actually took a physical newspaper. Yeah, that shows you how old I am. And the headline above the fold was interest rates to rise dramatically. I remember it very clear. That was the headline, interest rates to rise dramatically. And I thought, what have we done? And all of a sudden, all the what ifs start flowing in. Folks, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, that is inbred. That is something through evolution that we've been given, and it can save our lives. It can also save our businesses to be aware of the possibilities. But here's the difference, and here's what we're talking about today. When you start to utilize that fear to make decisions, you don't make decisions rationally. Let me repeat that. Fear is a great motivator, but if you use it as your primary source of making decisions, you will not make decisions rationally. And as a consequence, you are typically going to spiral downward. You all know these people. They carry a certain energy. They are what we would refer to as fearmongers, right? They're constantly looking at the what ifs. They're constantly looking at the black holes. They're constantly looking at conspiracy theories and look at what's going on. And I'll bet you this and that and the other and black helicopters and tinfoil hats and everything else, right? Trust me, folks, I get concerned about things as well. But when you start to allow that fear to motivate you, that's fine. But when it motivates you to make decisions, in other words, when you start making decisions by that fear, that's when you're in trouble. And that's what a lot of the world does. That's why we here, are part of the 2%. We're planning ahead. We still feel fear just like anybody else, right? We still have that fight, flight, or freeze mode. But then the question has to come, what do you do with it from there? I would highly recommend that you look through your thinking, right? A lot of great books out there on this. Napoleon Hill wrote many, many books on this. As a Man Thinketh, great book, okay? A little bit hokey in some places, okay? But the principles are there, that the way that we think and the way that we understand the way the world works will dictate the success that we have. Do you ever just look around and if I said, hey, do you know individuals that are successful? Okay, who comes to your mind? I'm guessing that you could think of many, many people that come to your mind that are successful individuals. And then I want to ask the question, why? Why are they successful? Can you answer that? I am guessing that they do not let fear dictate how they tackle life. Folks, thanks for joining me today. I hope it's been helpful to you. I hope it's allowed you to rearrange your thinking just a little bit. Speaking of your thinking and motivation and positivity, I hope you will join me at the All-Star Team. The All-Star Team is a great group of individuals, community, if you will, of appraisers getting together and helping and assisting each other in being the very best that we can be. Right now, the All-Star Team is absolutely free for the first 30 days. Okay, absolutely free, no questions asked, no holes barred. If you go to my website and look at the products, all of those are available with one or two or three exceptions. Okay, but I mean, we're talking hundreds of things, including things you don't see on my website, the members area, member resources, and of course the private Facebook group. Right now, for 30 days, you can try it out. No questions asked. If you want to cancel at the end of 29 days, do it. Okay, the coupon code is 1, as in the number 1, AS for All-Star free. 1 AS free, all one word. The number 1, A is in Apple, S is in Sam, FREE. Hope you'll join us. Thanks for joining me today. We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
To make life happen to them, sorry, editor. They don't, it takes, one more time.